Introduce the case of Susann Sills, a 45-year-old mother of twins and wife of renowned fertility doctor, Dr. Eric Sills. San Clemente, California, a picturesque coastal town known for its ocean views, affluent residents, and peaceful streets. But on the morning of November 13, 2016, one home in this quiet community would become the center of a tragic and unsettling mystery. At approximately 7:45 a.m., a frantic call is placed to 911. On the line is Dr. Eric Sills, a respected fertility doctor, reporting that his wife has fallen down the stairs. Emergency responders arrive within minutes. The home is calm. No sounds of distress. No signs of a struggle at first glance. The front door swings open as they step inside. Lying at the base of the stairs is 45-year-old Susann Sills, motionless. She's dressed in casual loungewear, her body positioned awkwardly. One leg bent, an arm splayed outward. At first glance, it appears to be a tragic accident. Falls down staircases happen, especially in homes with hard flooring. But something is off. The way Susann's body is positioned seems unnatural for a simple fall. And then, paramedics notice something else. A chilling realization sets in. This is not the face of someone who has simply fallen. The first responders quickly assess the situation. Susann is declared dead at the scene, but the questions begin immediately. If this was a fall, why are there marks around her neck? Why are there no apparent injuries consistent with tumbling downstairs? And why does the scene feel strangely undisturbed? No signs of a struggle, no significant blood spatter. As detectives arrive, the Sills home transforms from a suburban residence into a crime scene. What happened to Susann Sills? The answers they would soon discover were far more disturbing than anyone could have imagined. As the morning sun rises over San Clemente, the Sills home, once just another quiet residence, has transformed into the site of an unfolding investigation. What initially appeared to be a tragic accident is now a case riddled with disturbing inconsistencies. At first glance, Dr. Eric Sills' account of events seems plausible. His wife, Susann, had simply fallen. But investigators are trained to notice details that don't add up. And at the base of the staircase, something feels wrong. Detectives begin their methodical examination. The staircase is steep, but free of bloodstains or significant damage. No broken railings. No marks on the walls that would suggest a violent tumble. Even stranger is the lack of injuries typical of a fall. No skull fractures. No bruising consistent with multiple impacts. But then comes a more troubling discovery. A realization sweeps over the team. This doesn't look like an accident. Detectives take note of the objects found near Susann's body. Each item could be a clue, a piece of the puzzle. A stainless steel soup pot lies on its side, as if knocked over. But there's no spilled liquid, no sign that it played a role in her fall. A small purse rests nearby, its contents still intact. No struggle, no robbery attempt. And then the empty medication bottle. The implications are unclear. Was she under the influence of medication before her death? Was this suicide, an accident, or something else entirely? While forensic teams document the scene, investigators turn their focus to the sole witness, Dr. Eric Sills. His behavior is not what they expect from a grieving husband. He isn't hysterical. He doesn't break down. Instead, he remains composed, clinical, as if recounting an ordinary event. Though he maintains that Susann simply fell, detectives have an unsettling feeling. There is more to this story. By mid-morning, the medical examiner removes Susann's body from the home. An autopsy will determine the true cause of death. But already, the investigation is shifting. What really happened inside this house? The results of the autopsy will change everything. Hours after being pronounced dead at the scene, Susann Sills' body is transported to the Orange County Coroner's Office for examination. At first glance, her injuries appear inconsistent with a simple fall. The lead forensic pathologist begins the process that will determine Susann's true cause of death. What they find will send shockwaves through the investigation. As the examiner inspects Susann's skin and soft tissues, something immediately stands out: a pattern of bruising on her neck. The marks are not random. They form a clear ligature pattern, thin, symmetrical, and concentrated just above the collarbone. The implication is disturbing. These injuries are not consistent with tumbling down stairs. They are the signature of strangulation. The forensic pathologist moves deeper, examining the muscles and bones of the neck. Then comes a critical discovery. In most cases, a fall down the stairs does not generate enough pressure to break this delicate structure. But in homicide investigations, this fracture is a key indicator of manual strangulation or ligature strangulation. The examiner takes a deep breath. The case is no longer about an accidental fall. If Susann had fallen down the stairs, forensic experts would expect significant head injuries, skull fractures, deep contusions, or even internal hemorrhaging. But the scans reveal nothing. No cracked skull, no severe brain trauma, no signs that she ever struck her head violently. It is a discovery that contradicts Dr. Eric Sills' version of events. To complete the picture, the medical examiner orders a full toxicology screening. Was Susann under the influence of medication? Had she been drugged? Visual. A forensic scientist reviewing data on a computer screen. Blood analysis results flashing across the monitor. A prescription bottle with Susann's name on the label. An empty pill container nearby. The toxicology report does not suggest an overdose. Instead, it raises a chilling question. Was Susann awake and struggling when she was strangled? After a detailed analysis, the medical examiner makes their ruling. Susann Sills did not die from a fall. Her death is ruled as homicide, caused by ligature strangulation. With this single report, the entire narrative shifts. Dr. Eric Sills had reported an accident. The evidence now pointed to murder. With the autopsy results confirmed, detectives now face a critical turning point. The only person in the home at the time of Susann's death was her husband, Dr. Eric Sills. Now he is no longer just a grieving spouse. He is the prime suspect. What really happened inside the Sills home that morning? The search for answers is just beginning. With the autopsy ruling Susann Sills' death a homicide, the case shifts from accident to murder. And in any homicide investigation, the first question detectives ask is simple. Who had the most to gain from the victim's death? One name is at the center of the investigation: Dr. Eric Sills. Detectives go back to the morning of Susann's death, scrutinizing Eric's actions. At 7:45 a.m., he calls 911, reporting that his wife has fallen down the stairs. But the autopsy evidence contradicts his version of events. No head trauma, no signs of tumbling down stairs, clear ligature strangulation marks. The evidence suggests that when Eric called for help, Susann had been dead for some time. Witness interviews reveal something odd. Eric's demeanor is unusual for a grieving husband. He doesn't appear shaken. He doesn't break down. Instead, he remains calm, detached, even clinical. Investigators know that grief manifests in different ways, but Eric's lack of emotion stands out. Is this the reaction of a man in shock or a man hiding something? As detectives dig deeper, they uncover tensions in the Sills marriage. While the couple appeared successful and happy on the outside, private messages reveal cracks beneath the surface. Friends describe Susann as anxious in the weeks leading up to her death. Had she discovered something? Then, investigators uncover a possible financial motive. Susann's life insurance policy is substantial. In the event of her death, Eric stands to inherit a significant payout. Forensic accountants begin reviewing the couple's finances. Were there financial troubles? Did Eric need the money? Or was Susann planning to leave him? And he knew it? By now, the case against Eric Sills is growing stronger. His explanation doesn't match the autopsy. His behavior is concerning. There were problems in the marriage, and he stood to gain financially from Susann's death. Detectives are closing in, but before they make a move, they need something more. Concrete evidence linking Eric to Susann's death. With the autopsy ruling Susann Sills' death a homicide, investigators have built a compelling theory. But a theory alone is not enough. To make an arrest, they need something solid, physical evidence, or incriminating action by their prime suspect, Dr. Eric Sills. There is one question that lingers. If Susann was strangled, where is the weapon? Despite multiple searches, detectives have not recovered a ligature, the item that caused the marks on Susann's neck. But strangulation cases rarely leave obvious evidence. The murder weapon could be fabric, a thin cord, or even a scarf, something easy to dispose of, with no visible signs of a struggle and no ligature left behind. Investigators expand their search. Detectives return to the exterior of the home, searching for anything discarded, hidden, or hastily buried. A forensic team sweeps the yard, garbage bins, and a nearby drainage pipe. But still nothing. Did Eric dispose of the murder weapon elsewhere? Then, detectives discover something crucial. A neighbor's security camera captured Eric Sills' car leaving the home at approximately 5:15 a.m., more than 2 hours before his 911 call. Where was Eric going at that hour? And why didn't he mention this trip during his interview? Then, detectives discover something crucial. A neighbor's security camera captured Eric Sills' car leaving the home at approximately 5:15 a.m., more than 2 hours before his 911 call. Where was Eric going at that hour? And why didn't he mention this trip during his interview? Detectives organize a search of the location, carefully combing the area for discarded items, clothing fibers, or any remnants of a ligature. A gloved hand sifts through dirt. An investigator kneels near a tree, brushing away debris. Then something catches their attention. Could this be the missing ligature? The evidence is sent for immediate forensic analysis. Is it linked to Susann? Could it contain DNA from a killer? Does it match the ligature marks found on her neck? As investigators await results, one thing becomes clear. Eric Sills' version of events is crumbling. Every piece of evidence brings them closer to the truth. The forensic team is about to deliver their findings. If this discovery ties back to Eric, detectives will move forward with an arrest. After weeks of relentless investigation, the evidence is finally pointed to one person, Dr. Eric Sills. Detectives have gathered enough evidence to charge him with the murder of his wife, Susann. On the morning of December 8, 2016, law enforcement arrives at the Sills residence, ready to arrest Eric Sills on charges of first-degree murder. He is taken into custody without incident, but his calm demeanor remains unsettling. The trial begins, and Eric Sills stands accused of the brutal murder of his wife, Susann. Prosecutors present the forensic evidence, the lack of trauma from a fall, and the financial motive that Eric stood to gain from his wife's death. They argue that Eric strangled Susann in a fit of rage or desperation. After days of deliberation, the jury delivers their verdict. Eric Sills is found guilty of first-degree murder. The room fills with a collective sigh. Justice for Susann Sills, who can no longer speak for herself. Eric Sills is sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. As for Susann's family, they are left to grieve the loss of a loving wife and mother whose life was stolen by someone she trusted the most. Though justice has been served, the scars of the tragedy will never fully heal. Susann's death serves as a haunting reminder of the darkness that can lurk behind closed doors, even in the most seemingly perfect of marriages. The investigation into Susann Sills' death uncovered the truth, her husband's betrayal, but it also uncovered the resilience of those who loved her and the lengths they went to for justice. May her story remind us to always look for the signs, to never ignore the red flags, and to stand up for the truth, no matter how difficult it may be.